Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Great.
Excellent. Yeah, wonderful. Best day ever. Bev and Greg are here. Best day ever. As a matter of fact, Bev wrote a song called The Best Day Ever, which was really cool. So I really enjoyed this last week. I got to go camping with many of you. Who's our camping people here? Raise your hand. Look at all the camping people. Yeah. We had a great camping trip, and I'll talk more about it a little bit later on. It was a lot of fun. And we also have an amazing thing I want to kind of feature to you. If you look at our altar over here, we have all these glass artwork that was done at one of our Gourmets for God events. And so Chris and Christopher hosted this art Gourmet for God event, and we just received the pieces back from all of from the art place. So it's quite beautiful. And here comes Bobby's right in her hand. Oh my God, she gets to open it right here and now. It's like a little present. It's so much fun. Yeah, we'll add it to the altar. Okay, now I guess we gotta wait. Because everybody's gonna want to know what her art piece. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mine was minimal.
Oh, it's beautiful. Here we go.
That's just
Oh. That's quite beautiful. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, baby.
So that's what community is about. We're here to build community. We're here to create community. We're here to be the community. And part of being the community is connecting with people who are different with us or stretching ourselves in a new way, doing art, doing classes and workshops, and stepping into this idea of what we're creating here is a world that works for everyone. And it's fun to say, I love saying, we're creating a world that works for everyone. But the practicality of it is not always the simplest thing to step into. This month we're studying loving kindness and forgiveness, and our book of the month is The Art of Forgiveness, Loving Kindness and Peace by Jack Kornfield. And our weekly theme is that we see our communities being open, receptive, and welcoming of all people, all faiths, and all paths to God. Now, I call ourselves a trans-denominational community. Some people say non-denominational, but we do have a denomination. I just say we're trans-denominational because what is the similar string of truth that runs between all the religions, that's what we teach here. We teach the principles of God, that no matter who you are or how you are stepping into your spiritual life, that you can actively utilize this thing that I call God, or you might call spirit or source or essence or the universal field, anything that you call it, it's the same thing. And as we step into these principles and we activate them in our lives, then we start living lives that are really wonderful. And I'm really interested in continuing to have a really wonderful life. How about you? Yeah. So who'd like your life to get better than it already is? Yes. Okay, me too. I mean, my life is really great, but why not have it be better? Why not have an incredible, thriving, joy-filled life? It's totally possible. And I want to be an example of it, so I'm going to keep doing my work, my spiritual work, in order for me to have that thriving life, in order for me to step into that realm of possibility. And I invite you to take that on as well, to take on yourself and your life and your own spiritual practices, because as you do them, you're going to be opened up to new realms of possibility. There's this great story in the book of the month. It's actually from Alan Wallace, and it's about, it's a Tibetan teaching, but it's a little story from a Tibetan teaching. So imagine walking along a sidewalk with your arms full of groceries, and someone roughly bumps into you so that you fall and your groceries are strewn all over the ground. I mean, eggs, tomato juice, like it's just splattered everywhere. And as soon as this happens, have you ever had that feeling like of rage, like upwell, like, oh, I don't know, I have. So as soon as that happened, you think, oh, you want to shout, you idiot, what's wrong with you? Are you blind? And then as soon as you get up, you notice, in fact, that person is blind. And then the whole thing shifts. Because you have compassion for the person who is also sprawled amongst the groceries. His groceries are also all over the place. And then that anger is replaced with concern. And you say, are you hurt? Can I help you? And our situation in life is like that. Anytime there is some kind of collision or challenge or upset, it's really because of ignorance. It's because ourselves or the other person is blind to what's going on. And could we step into our world and have compassion for that other person as if they were blind, or as if we were blind in that situation, having compassion for ourselves? Is it possible? I would like you to think about how this last week has gone by and what has happened in the week, that maybe you had anger or frustration at somebody. And is it possible to replace that with some kind of compassion and love? We watched this amazing movie on our camping trip. Thank you, John Schairer, for being our movie maestro. And the movie was called Pay It Forward. And the story is about 12-year-old Trevor. And he has a class project where he has to complete in his social studies class. And his teacher, Eugene Simonet, declares that each and every student gets extra credit if they come up with a plan to change the world. And this plan has to be something actionable, something that the student can take action on, and it changes the world. So as Trevor is walking home that day, he notices a homeless man. And he realizes that he has allowance, he has money, and he has a nice place for this man to take a shower. And so he invites him home. He invites the homeless man home. And the homeless man takes a shower, he feeds him food, he gives him his allowance money so that the homeless man can get back on his feet. Now, of course, the mom comes home, is not happy to find the homeless man in the house. But she finds out what her son is up to. And she discovers that he really has this idea that he wants to change the world by what he's calling as Pay It Forward. And Pay It Forward, he said, is this idea where you do 3 really big things for somebody else. And instead of giving back to something that's given to you, you give forth, you pay it forward before anybody's given it to you. And so the mom is completely inspired by this. The mom's name is Arlene. And Arlene starts thinking about what she could do to maybe pay it forward. And she recognizes that she has a really bad relationship with her mom, who is a drunk and a homeless woman living out of her car, who she did not have a good childhood with her mom. And so she decides that she's going to forgive her mom. Now, we've been talking about forgiving all this month, and forgiving we do for ourselves, but it also affects the other person that we forgive. And what it is we're forgiving, we're giving for ourselves, giving forth back ourselves and our life. Forgiveness is the idea that you can never create a better past. You can't. What happened is what happened. You can't change your past. And so you let go of it. And you let go of that attachment or the hatred or the anger that the past may have created within you that you're still carrying it along. Sometimes I think of, forgiveness as like you have like suitcases that you're carrying with you everywhere. You literally have baggage that you're carrying around with you everywhere. And whenever you forgive, you let them go. And that forgiveness provides a freedom that changes people's lives. It's a gift. And it's a gift that you give yourself, but it's also a gift you give the other person. Now, Arlene and her mother, Grace, had a really troubled relationship. And when Arlene realized that she was going to forgive her mom, she let go all of that past history. And Grace was so overcome with gratitude because she wanted to have a relationship with her daughter, and she wanted to have a relationship with her grandson, Trevor. And so Arlene told Grace about this project that Trevor had been up to. And she was really impacted by that too. And she's a homeless woman. She's driving around the street one day, and she sees this guy who's running from the cops. And she wants to pay it forward. So she puts the guy in her car and she drives him away so he doesn't get caught by the cops. So that's her version of paying it forward. Well, this guy finds out about why she helped him out. She helped him get away. And he's a gang member, so he wants to pay it forward also. Well, it turns out he's in the hospital because he had a stab wound from a gang fight. And he's in the hospital and he's bleeding all over the place. And there's another person in the waiting room. And it's a man with his daughter, and the daughter's having an asthma attack. And the nurse comes out and recognizes this guy's bleeding everywhere, and the girl's having the asthma attack, and she determines that the bleeding is more important than the asthma attack. And the guy thinks, how could her breathing, how could this be more important than her life? She was really having a really bad asthma attack. She couldn't breathe at all. And so he decides he's going to take matters into his own hands. And so he pulls a gun on the nurse and he says, "You take care of that girl first or else." And so they do. So that's him paying it forward, right? And then the father of the girl is so overcome by the fact that this man, this gang member, fought for his child, that he also wanted to pay it forward. So he's driving along and he finds a guy on the street with a late at night, I believe it was raining, it was just the car broken down, and he decides that he's going to give his car to the person on the side of the road. So he gives away his car out of gratitude for his daughter's life being saved. Well, it turns out that man is a reporter. And so the reporter decides he's going to figure out what the heck this whole pay it forward movement is all about. And he investigates the whole thing back and tracks it to this 12-year-old boy who had this idea. And interestingly enough, in the movie, you find out that the boy thinks none of his ideas work. He actually pays it forward to 3 people, and he thinks none of his ideas work, but every single one of them does. And for me, it makes me realize that I may not know the impact I have. Even when I'm trying to do something good or I'm trying to do a good deed, and maybe it doesn't turn out how I want, I don't know how it has transformed somebody's life. And maybe it takes a little while for those seeds to take root before that plant, that flower, blooms. And I wonder if we could all decide to pay it forward in our lives. Or pick one thing to do this week. Maybe over the next month, you could do one thing a month to pay it forward to somebody. Maybe somebody you don't think who deserves it. Maybe somebody you don't even know. Just do something big for somebody and see how it makes you feel. Because I think that this is how we create a world that works for everyone. Well, we had some practical application of this at our camping trip. We were camping, and right next to us, we had these two big sites, and right next to us there was another group. And as it turns out, from our camping site, walking behind this other group's site, there's a shortcut to the bathroom, which we used the first night. But the second night, a new group came in, and we were walking to the shortcut, which kind of went through there. It didn't really go through their campsite, but it went behind their campsite, kind of through it. And they weren't so happy about somebody walking through their campsite. And they said it in words that were not very nice. Very unkind, mean words. And it created some animosity. There's animosity between our two groups. And we decided to, well, we had, the cop came over and the ranger came over. It was really interesting. We didn't report it. We don't know why the cop came over, but I think maybe other people had reported this group as well, because we weren't the only ones who knew about this shortcut to the bathroom. But anyway, we decided that we were going to use the long way to the bathroom and respect their space. And at the very end of the camping trip, you had to have showers. You had to have coins to take a shower. So you put money in, you get tokens out. You can't use them for anything else. And so Kathy Schairer had some tokens left over. And she decided to pay it forward to our group next door who were staying longer than us. And she went over and gave the tokens to them and repaired the love between our two groups. And as a matter of fact, they apologized too. And she wasn't going over looking for an apology. She was just going over to give. But that was a practical application of exactly what we're talking about this week. This is exactly why we're stepping into a world that works for everyone. Because the world that works for everyone is a world where we act from forgiveness and love. We act from loving kindness. And that means that we're the ones to be doing that work because we want to have the world that works for everyone. It's not our job to tell other people to do that work. It's our job to take that work on for ourselves. Each and every one of us have the opportunity to change the world, but it's through little acts like that, little tiny acts, or it's through big acts like the pay it forward acts that make a really big impact on people's lives. There's another story in our book from actually Pima Chodron, who was the author of our Book of the Month last month. And in this story, she talks about a young woman where she wrote to her about finding herself in a small town in the Middle East. And when she was walking through the small town, people were jeering, yelling, and threatening to throw stones at her because she was American. And she was terrified, but what really happened to her was way more important than this act of feeling terrified. Is she identified with every person throughout history who had ever been scorned or hated. All of a sudden, she understood what it was like to be despised for any reason. Any ethnic group, any racial background, any sexual preference, any gender. And all of a sudden, something cracked wide open inside of her. And she stood in the shoes of the millions of oppressed people, and she saw with new eyes. She even understood her shared humanity with those who hated her. So I encourage you to look at those things that are happening in your life. And instead of using those things as opportunities to be victimized, because we can, and they are challenging things that happen to people, and I'm sure many of you have experienced many, many challenging things. But what if you could shift your perspective around that and choose to take on those challenging things with new eyes? And instead of utilizing those things to be the most challenging thing that brings you down, instead utilize it to be an advocate for the people who don't have a voice to speak up. Use it to be an advocate for the people who don't know that they have the power to step fully into their lives and make a difference. Because so many of us are I want to say, there's layers of cultural and systemic ideas that harbor people from really embodying the idea that they have control over their life or control over their reality. And so I want to encourage you to start opening up to the idea that you can create your own reality, but you do it collectively with all of us as a group. And the way that we do this collectively as a group is that we each do little things every single day that make that difference, that open up somebody else's eyes because of your generosity, because of your forgiveness, because of your love. You get to be the way shower. You get to be the example for others. And it's not the easier path. That's the thing about this teaching, is it's fun and it's wonderful, and maybe if you walk in for the first time, you're like, oh, everybody's wonderful and happy and positive. And then the secret gets out that you get to be responsible for changing, which is the more challenging work. But I know that each and every person here is invested in that idea, invested in that opportunity. And I know that I'm doing this because you're here with me doing it. And I know that we collectively are changing the world. We're the ones making the difference. And I want to encourage you to notice when other people are making those little changes. Tell them that you recognized it. When you see somebody serving, tell them how much you appreciate it. Even our custodians, we're very kind to our custodians that come in here. We talk to them, and because we appreciate, they're vacuuming our floors, they're changing their, they're fixing the bathrooms, they're making sure everything is so nice. Ask them their names. The cashiers, ask who they are. Because it takes a community, a collective force to recognize and open up so each one of us can plant those seeds and we can all bloom together. We can be a garden, a bouquet of beauty. And so I encourage you to step out this week and step into that idea of being that bloom and planting those seeds to others. Recognizing that we are choosing to be a place here where we all are welcome. We move beyond the story of our lives. We move beyond the story of our spiritual community. We move into the idea that our city, our nation, our world is our commitment. That we are the ones committed to creating the world, the city, the community that works for everyone. And that's what I really am invested in. I'm dedicating my life to it. And I know that when I dedicate my life to it, I continue to have joyful experiences and examples come up for me that show that I am planting those seeds of possibility in the world. And others see it too. But it's my job, again, to recognize those around me who are doing the little tiny things that make a difference. So I encourage you to do that. Think about what are you going to do to pay it forward today? What are you going to do to plant a seed in somebody else's life? And what acts of service are you going to do to create a world that works for everyone? Because we're all a part of it. And I love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I love and appreciate your ideas. So what do you have as some ideas? Just let's get a little fuzzy pot going, a little bubbling up. What are your ideas? How do you create a world that works for everyone? What's something you could do to pay it forward?
Compliment my gardener for the work that he does.
Compliment your gardener. Yeah, compliment your gardener. I love that.
I'd like to compliment sales clerks who are doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, and write a letter, write a note. Tell them face to face, but then also tell their boss. Tell the store.
And your mentor, tell them exactly how much you appreciate how they are helping you and thanking them for their time and the value they give you.
Your mentor? Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
I like to write thank you notes to my daughter's teachers.
Oh, write thank you notes to your daughter's teachers. I love that.
Yeah, how much I appreciate what they're doing for her in her life.
Yeah.
And the children knows.
Yeah.
I'm thinking your employer, an employer who has a vision and trusts in you and believes in you and puts you in that position.
Yeah, thank your boss. Thank your employer. Appreciate their vision and their trust in you. I like that. Yes.
Like random acts of kindness, like paying somebody's bridge toll behind you.
Uh-huh. Pay a bridge toll. Pay for their coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Recognizing achievement, whether it's a day of sobriety or a child learning a new skill.
Yeah. Recognizing achievement. So day of sobriety, child learning a new skill. I love that. Yeah.
I called Chris out yesterday. He pulled up. I don't know if he pulled it out, but he found out today is the day of random act of kindness. Is it today a national day? Was it yesterday? Yeah. It actually is these 2 days.
Oh.
National event, right?
National Random Act of Kindness Day is today. All right.
So yesterday we were at the market up at San Mateo Community College.
Farmers market.
Yeah, the open market, farmers market.
Yeah.
And we're getting flowers for the house. And Chris, we met some new friends there. Introduced ourselves. And one thing I like to do is I keep myself there on the community, quick smiling. My gift is to say kind to people. But when we got in line after we were done paying for our flowers, Chris gave some money to the person who owned the stand. Said, this is for the next person who comes, pay for their flowers.
Aww. Pay for flowers for somebody else. I love it. Yes.
Another one is, and we had this experience too, is a young person who does something out of their box and just recognizing what they do, that can make such a difference in their lives.
Yeah. Recognizing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. He was amazing. Absolutely. Recognizing a young person for stepping out and doing something courageous that may be uncomfortable for them. Yes.
Yeah, I was at a yoga shop, and these young kids were being very boisterous and very almost aggressive, and then they stopped and opened the door for them.
Aww.
So then, without them hearing, I paid for their yoga. And I thanked them very much, and then I paid for the yoga. So it stopped that behavior. Yay.
Oh, opening the door for somebody, receiving a gift is also just as important as giving the gift. Receiving the gift is quite important. The coupon thing. Oh, that's right. So when they were doing the Monopoly thing at Safeway, Gina and I collected all the coupons. We weren't going to use them. We were not eating a lot of the things that we got coupons for, but we did a little treasure hunt around the store, and we found all the items we had coupons for, and we taped them to the items. It was fun. Yeah. Uh-huh.
One little thing to do is like if you're in traffic
Mhm.
and someone wants to merge in, let them.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Let somebody merge in traffic.
It's not easy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big deal, though. It is very big. It's sweet whenever you're the one receiving that, too. Oh, thank you for being so wonderful. Yeah. So these are some ideas, and I'd love to encourage you to talk about them and join us in our potluck after service and talk about new ideas that we can continue to get this pay it forward idea going. And we can start stepping into creating a world that works for everyone. I know that we've been doing this, but I want to keep this fresh in your mind so that way you're totally inspired by every day that happens to you. You're inspired by who you're being, and you're also inspired by how other people are being around you. Because I truly believe that this is an inspirational world, and we need a lot more of that attention to go on than all the other stuff that's happening. So be the light workers, be the light bearers, be the seed scatterers in this world, because that's what we really want to do, is create that world that works for everyone. So let's do it.